Hello, and welcome to Around the Political World with John Rothman. I am John Rothman. If you're a fan of the show, make sure to hit the follow button on the top right of Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you are listening at this very moment. When you hit follow, leave a review or share an episode with a friend. It helps other people discover the show, keeps us going, and as I like to point out each and every day, it expands our base. Who is on trial? That's the question. Is it Robert Costello? Is it Rudy Giuliani? Who is on trial in all of these shenanigans? Well, the real answer is Donald Trump is on trial. I know that Michael Cohen is not particularly creditable. I understand that he stole from Donald Trump. I also understand that he admitted it on the stand. But Michael Cohen isn't on trial. Costello isn't on trial. They are not on trial. The person on trial, most assuredly, is Donald Trump. So the question that I have is Donald Trump guilty of doing something that he shouldn't have done? It's just that simple. And when I hear Donald Trump say, this is all a setup, that Joe Biden's Justice Department is out to get him. And when I hear Republicans talking about the weaponization of the Justice Department against Donald Trump, I have to stop and think for a minute. Isn't the pot calling the kettle black? Because isn't what Trump is saying he will do if he becomes president is weaponize the Justice Department, go after Joe Biden, go after Hunter Biden, go after the Biden crime family. Haven't you heard that over and over again? Isn't that the weaponization of the Justice Department? And let's be clear, Rudy Giuliani was finally served. His 80th birthday party, they got him, they served the papers. He had been avoiding being served, but they got him. And what is the issue in Arizona? The issue in Arizona is whether the Trump team tried to remove the Arizona electoral votes from the Biden column and shift them to the Trump column. Well, let's be clear. Joe Biden carried Arizona. There were recounts, there were reexaminations, everything was done by the Trump people to prove that, in fact, Donald Trump carried Arizona. The simple fact is he didn't. And then there was the case of the fake electors trying to insinuate that these electors pledged to Joe Biden were not legitimate, and therefore they had to put up a slate of electors pledged to Donald Trump. Well, you and I know, again, that is not true. What happens when a claim based on a lie becomes believable to too many Americans? And that's the real issue. Well, so let's separate various things out. First of all, I hear the judge in the Arizona case will have to deal with fundamental issues of fairness and decency and who really won the state. Well, there's no question that Joe Biden carried Arizona. We have another judge in a New York courtroom who is constantly being attacked by Donald Trump. Now, there's no gag order relating to the judge, so Donald Trump can say whatever he chooses. But what do you think it means when a defendant in a case who happens to be a former president of the United States not only attacks the judge, but then has his minions, his supporters, some of whom are members of Congress, both the House and the Senate, coming directly to New York to say, Donald Trump, it's all a setup, and Donald Trump is innocent? There is a perversion of justice here, a perversion that bothers me. Now, in the end, a jury will decide whether or not Donald Trump is guilty or innocent. But the simple truth is the tactics used by Donald Trump and his lawyers, the attempt to smear a judge, the attempt to prejudice a case, the attacks on people who testify, it's astounding to me. But what really bothers me is the apathy, the unwillingness of too many to stand up and call out the Trump operation for what it is. Now, I don't say this because I'm for or against Donald Trump for president. I want to emphasize that if this were a Democrat pulling this kind of stunt, I would be just as angry, just as disturbed. These are serious matters going to the heart of the American system. And then I want to tell you that in a discussion I had with a colleague the other day, I expressed my real distress at the fact that what happened on January 6th has been pushed into the background. It is as if January 6th is not an issue. It must be an issue. The attempt to subvert democracy, the attempt to qualify electors from a variety of states and have Mike Pence, the then Vice President of the United States, certify electors that didn't win, that's an assault on democracy. And that's where I wish the attention was focused. I don't say this out of maliciousness or to be mean or to be difficult. I simply believe that as an American, I am entitled to a system that is supported and worked by all. That means that if there is discrimination in the system, it has to be called out. But if the system is being attacked for political purposes, for the sake of vindicating someone who does not, in my judgment, deserve vindication, that's a whole other question. I began with a simple question. Who is on trial? Maybe we should expand it to ask the question, what is on trial? Because, in fact, in my judgment, it is the trial of American democracy. We were forged on the anvil of a belief that the justice system could work. This should not be a case, if you'll pardon a very bad pun, of Abbott and Costello. This should be a serious examination of where we are as a nation and whether Donald Trump wins or loses in that New York courtroom. The question of what happened on January 6th must be the dominant question which we all ask. I believe that to be true. Why? Because I believe that justice must be served. Call me old-fashioned, but I still accept the old line from the Adventures of Superman. I believe in truth, justice, and the American way. Don't you? Thanks for tuning into another episode of Around the Political World. I am John Rothman. Make sure to follow along and let me know your thoughts on the show by leaving a review on Apple Podcasts and sharing an episode with a friend or colleague so we can continue to grow. Remember, you can offer me feedback on Facebook and LinkedIn. And my special appreciation and thanks to Gogo Zoger, the wonderful producer of Around the Political World with John Rothman. All right, that's it for now. I'll see you tomorrow, right here on Around the Political World with John Rothman. See you then.